So, right about 8 o'clock, good morning. I'm Susan, and this is a comeback yoga class. It's a level 2 class, moves perhaps a little quicker than a level 1 class. We might hold poses a little bit longer, and the transitions between poses might be a little um, quicker. That being said, you can practice at your own pace, and please take care of yourself and don't do anything you don't feel like doing, and do things you do feel like doing. So let that be your guide for choosing different variations of poses, whether or not you want to hold it, um, and uh, giving yourself kindness, compassion as you practice. We'll start seated. You can put your hands on the tops of your knees, roll your shoulders a couple times, back and down. Turn your palms up in your lap and take a few moments to acknowledge anything that's going on in your body. Acknowledge anything that is running through your mind. Acknowledge how you are feeling, how you are doing, and notice your breath. Notice that you're inhaling and exhaling. As you do that, notice how you're inhaling and exhaling. How does your breath feel? Can you invite your inhales and your exhales to be a little bit longer, a little bit deeper? Now is a good time to make an intention for your class, if you want to do that. An intention is just like your guide or your goal. Maybe you have something specific, like you want to stretch out your hamstrings. Maybe you want to relieve some tension. Could be anything. Bring that into the forefront of your mind and let it also be your guide. Let it help you choose variations, poses. Bring your hands together in front of your chest. Point your fingers up towards the ceiling, elbows tucked in at your sides. Slightly tuck your chin. Inhale to reach up towards the ceiling. Exhale, turn your palms out, fingertips onto the floor next to you. Tuck your chin. Inhale to reach your arms out and up and overhead. Connect your palms. Exhale, bring your thumbs in front of your sternum. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, turn your palms out, fingertips onto the floor, tuck your chin. Inhale to reach up, connect your palms. Exhale, hands down, thumbs in front of your sternum. Go one more. Inhale to lift. Exhale to touch down, tuck your chin. Inhale to lift. Connect your palms. Exhale, thumbs in front of your chest. Point your fingers forward now. Dive your arms long. Tuck your chin and curl your spine. Inhale to open up. Stretch across your chest. Lift your gaze. Exhale, bring your arms forward. Tuck your chin, curl your spine. Connect your palms. Inhale and drag your hands back to starting position. Let's go again. Point your fingers forward. Straighten your arms. Tuck your chin, curl your spine. Inhale to open up. Fingertip to fingertip. Exhale, bring your arms forward. Connect your palms. Inhale, first position, sit tall. Take both hands to your left thigh. Turn and look past your left shoulder. Take both hands to your right thigh. Turn and look past your right shoulder. Both hands to your left thigh, turn and look. And both hands to your right thigh, turn and look. Take your left hand or your left forearm down towards the floor, and your right side stretches up and over. You can let your arm hang on the top of your head, or you can reach your arm over towards the left. Pushing yourself up, take your right hand or your right forearm down onto the mat, the floor. Your left side stretches up and over. Your arm could hang on the top of your head, or it could reach over to the right. Pushing yourself back up, take your arms out to T, roll through your fingers and your wrists, and take your right elbow underneath your left. Hold your opposite shoulders and draw a big circle with your torso going from the right to the left. Unwrap your arms and take your left elbow underneath your right. Hold your opposite shoulders and draw a big circle with your torso going from the left to the right. Sitting tall, taking your hands to your opposite elbows, lift your forearms up toward your forehead. Exhale, release your arms back down by your sides. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Take your palms and point your fingers back behind you and roll your palms back down onto the floor. They might not reach all the way, but you're pressing down. Now take the backs of your hands, backs of the fingers, and roll the backs of your hands down onto the floor, palms facing up. And release. And come into table, planting your hands down, knees on the floor. Tuck your toes under, hips move back toward your heels. Bend your elbows, dive your chest through into cow pose, tuck under into cat pose, and move through this circle, diving through into cow pose, tucking under into cat pose, hips move back toward the heels. Glide through a couple more times. Coming back through table, walk your fingers apart a little bit, plant down, and float your knees off the floor, even just a couple of inches. Breathe here, breathe and breathe. And then start to straighten your legs, moving your hips up and back into downward facing dog. You can pedal out your feet. This is kind of just a first stab at downward facing dog, your first attempt. So you're giving yourself time to wiggle your hips and pedal your feet and invite stretch in your spine. Slowly let your knees float back down towards the mat and float them above the mat. Just a couple of inches. Remember, you can always take one knee or both knees back down if you feel like you want extra rest. Floating your knees and then straighten your legs, coming back into downward facing dog. You can pedal out your feet, move your head around. We'll do one more like that, bending your knees, floating your knees above the floor, just a couple of inches. Breathe and breathe and breathe, and straightening your legs, coming into downward facing dog. Pedal your feet and move your head around. Walking your feet towards each other and then walking your feet back, we'll come into plank position, stretching long your body. And let your left knee come down. Stretch your right leg back behind you into bird dog, and your opposite arm can come forward. Slightly tuck your tailbone, breathe, and take your left elbow out to the side of your body and take your right knee up towards your right shoulder and extend. So we'll bend and extend that way, out to the sides with your floating limbs, and then extend forward and back. Nice job, both hands down. Right toes come down, step back to plank. Give yourself a couple breaths here in plank position, and then we'll move into downward facing dog. Spread out your fingers, bend your knees, send your hips back. Your head's in line with the rest of your spine. And let your knees float down towards the mat. Float them above the floor a couple of inches. Breathe. And straighten into downward facing dog. We'll do two more. Knees bend. Float your knees above the floor a couple of inches. And straighten your legs. And we'll do one more, floating down. And start to straighten your legs, coming back into plank position, holding for a moment. And let your right knee come down, and your left leg goes long. Out behind you, your right arm comes forward. Here you've got options, so your right knee, your left knee comes up towards your left shoulder, your right elbow comes back by your right hip, and extend. So your floating limbs glide out to the sides and bend and extend. Both hands down, both knees down, tuck your toes under, hips drag back toward the heels. Put your forearms down onto the mat and turn your palms up and curl your fingers in and roll through your wrists. And bring your forearms forward, stretch out your shoulders, keep your toes tucked under, hips drag back, stretching out the bottoms of your feet, your shoulders, your sides, back of your neck. Inhale to lift up, slide forward onto your forearms and your stomach. Interlace your fingers, move your head left and right. Point your toes and walk your feet out towards the edges of the mat and wiggle your elbows forward a tiny bit, coming into Sphinx pose. Breathe here. And square your elbows right underneath your shoulders. Tuck your toes under and walk your knees towards each other. Squeeze your glutes a little. Tuck your tailbone under a little bit, coming into any variation of forearm plank that you like. Breathe here. Breathe and breathe and breathe. Now these variations might look like one knee or both knees down. You might have both legs straight. Breathe and breathe. Knees down. Lower your hips down. Come back into Sphinx pose. And then unlace your fingers. Come down onto your stomach. Bend your knees up and reach your fingers back towards your heels. And your fingers might brush your heels. Spread across your chest. Lift your rib cage a little. And release your legs down. Plant your hands on either side of your chest. Tuck your toes. Push yourself onto your knees. And drag your hips back toward your heels. This time the tops of your feet are on the floor. Walk your knees out a little bit and come into resting pose. Rock from side to side. Inhale to lift up, coming into table. One more time, we'll bend the elbows, gliding into cow pose, tucking under into cat pose. Hips move back. Bend your elbows, dive through. Tuck under. Hips move back. Bend your elbows, dive through. Then come to neutral table. Walk your hands forward a little bit. Tuck your toes under. Bring your hips forward and lift yourself into downward facing dog. Change your downward facing dog a little bit. Bend your knees or walk your hands a little further apart or your feet. Breathe here and walk your feet back towards each other. Take your left leg back behind you for a three-legged dog. Curl your left knee underneath you and come into one knee curled under plank and glide back. Three-legged dog. One knee curled under plank. Step your left foot forward. Back heel comes down. Lift up and out into warrior two. Take both hands to the tops of your shoulders. Tilt forward and stretch your arms forward. Hold here for a little bit. Anytime you want to, your bottom arm can come down on the inside of your front leg, and you can press them together for extra bracing support. Keep breathing, keep reaching. Nice job. Both hands down. Step back to plank. You can either hold plank here or you can come into resting pose if you like. Keep breathing. You're either holding your plank or you're giving yourself just a little bit more rest. hips back towards the heels. If you're still in plank, let your knees come down, hips drag back, stretch out. Put your elbows down, turn your palms up, curl your fingers in, roll through your wrists, and interlace your fingers. Lift your hips, bring your chin toward your fist. Tuck your toes under, hips drag back toward the heels. Slide your forearms forward, lengthen onto your mat, coming into Sphinx pose. You can walk your feet out towards the edges of the mat. Lift your chest, breathe. And walk your elbows more firmly underneath your shoulders. Tuck your toes under. Tuck your tailbone under. Find forearm plank once again. And it might look like on your knees. It might look like on your toes. It might look like on one knee. Keep your head in line with the rest of your spine. Breathe and breathe and breathe in your forearm plank. Let your knees come down, hips come down, untuck your toes, unlace your fingers, slide your hands on either side of your chest, and then sweep your arms back behind you, reach your fingers toward your toes, bend your knees up, heels toward the hips, and maybe you reach back and brush your fingers to your heels, or maybe you hold on to the fronts of your feet or the tops of your toes. And spread across your collarbones and lift your rib cage a little. Your head's in line with the rest of your spine, so keep the back of your neck long. Breathe and breathe. Release your grip if you've got one. Hands on either side of the chest. Push yourself onto your knees. Tuck your legs underneath you and curl in for a resting position. Bringing yourself into neutral table, walking your hands forward a little, tuck your toes under, lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Pedal out your feet, roll your head around, and take your right leg back, three-legged dog. Curl your right knee underneath you, one knee curled under plank. Stretch your right leg back, three-legged dog. Curl your right knee underneath you and step your right foot forward in between your hands. Back heel comes down. Lift yourself into warrior two. And then tilt forward, hands by the tops of the shoulders and reach arms overhead. Anytime you want to, for a little extra support, you can take your right arm down, press your arm into your leg and your leg into your arm. It gives you more length for your side bodies, more structure, more support. It's a lovely way to practice this position. You could also have both arms overhead. It's just optional, either way. Breathe and stretch and breathe. Notice your side bodies. Notice your breath. Inhale to lift, warrior two. Exhale, both hands down. Step back to plank. Press back through your heels. Knees come down, cross your legs underneath you. Stretch your legs out in front of you and lean forward into forward fold. Your forward fold can look like sitting tall. Your forward fold can look like leaning forward. Maybe your head is approaching your feet. Just depends on how deep you want to go into your forward fold and how it feels for you. We'll inhale to lift up, lean your hands back, fingers down, and then roll your palms down. Lift your rib cage. And place your left foot onto the floor. Lean back, and you have options here. You can lean back, just put a little bit weight in your hands. Spread your fingers a little bit. Press your fingertips down and lift your hips. So you come into reverse plank. Your head, your shoulders, your hips, and your extended heel all in one line. Hips come down. Cross your legs underneath you. Come into table. And ease into downward facing dog. Pedal out your feet, roll your head around. Try spreading your fingers a little bit wider, leaning the weight back a little bit more. Walk your feet towards each other. Take your left leg back behind you for a three-legged dog. Curl your left knee underneath you. One knee curled under plank. Left leg comes back behind you for a three-legged dog. Curl your left knee underneath you. Step your left foot forward and let your back knee come down to the mat. And lift yourself up into low lunge. Pressing down into your front foot to lift your rib cage. Exhaling, your hands together in front of your chest. Take your right elbow across over toward your left knee, any amount. So you might stay quite tall here and twist, turn from a straight spine, or you might tilt forward with your right elbow actually on your knee. Turn and look past your left shoulder. Untwist, reach arms overhead, exhale, hands down. Step back to plank. You can make it one-legged plank if you like, floating your left leg. And both feet down. Walk your feet forward towards the top of the mat, towards your hands. And hang forward in your forward fold. Give yourself a breath or two here in your forward fold. Hang forward, stretch forward. And start to lift up to half lift. Slide your hands up the fronts of your shins. Lift your torso parallel to the floor. Put your hands on the fronts of your thighs and press your thighs back and press your shoulders back so your neck is long. And notice your breath here. Supporting the length of your spine with the strength of your arms. Supporting the length of your spine with the stretching, the backs of your legs. And glide yourself, hands back down towards the mat. You can let your arms hang, roll your head around. And plant your hands and step, walk, or hop back into plank. Hips move up and back into downward facing dog. Roll your head around, pedal out your feet. Take your right leg back into three-legged dog. Curl your right knee underneath you, one knee curled under plank. Pause for a little bit. Pull up and in at your belly, dome your upper back. Head in line with the rest of your spine. And stretch back into three-legged dog. And step your right foot forward in between your hands. Your back knee comes down. Lift yourself into low lunge. You're pressing down into your front foot to get more lift out of your rib cage. Your arms could be a little bit out to the sides. Your elbows could be a little bit bent. What's happening is here in your strength, your center, your core. Breathe here. Then take your hands together in front of your chest. Your left elbow comes across to your right knee now. And you might stay tall, twisting with a straight spine, or you might tilt either way. They're just variations. One will suit your body better. Untwist, hands down. You can step back to one-legged plank. Both feet down, both knees down. Cross your legs underneath you. Plant your hands back behind you. Fingers first. Roll down to your palms. Lift your rib cage. Then bend your right knee, keeping your left leg stretched out in front of you. Lift your chest. If you like, you can lean back and lift your hips. So you're extended, heel, hips, shoulders, and head all in one line for a reverse plank. Hold here for just a little bit. And hips come down. Nice work. Soles of the feet together, knees wing out to the sides, hinge forward. Inhale to lift up and straighten your legs. Wiggle your sit bones back a little. Pop up your knees, press down into your heels, and lean forward. Bring your torso toward your thighs. Try to keep the natural curves of your spine as much as possible. And for lots of us, that means sitting straight. You're already in a 90-degree angle here. See how your leg is close towards your torso. So you're already stretching. You might notice more sensation. If that seems agreeable, you can tilt forward a little more. Breathe and breathe. Don't have an agenda in our forward fold. We're just observing. Give yourself time to stretch out. One more inhale and exhale here. Lengthen. Doesn't matter how it looks, it's about how it feels. Stretch, breathe, notice, observe. Inhale to lift your torso. Cross your legs underneath you. Plant your hands down, tuck your toes under, float your knees off the floor just a couple of inches. Breathe here. Breathe and breathe and breathe. And lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Give yourself a moment or two in your downward facing dog. Then bend your knees once again. Knees float above the floor a couple of inches. Breathe and breathe. And straightening your legs, hips move up and back in a downward facing dog. And one last time, knees float above the floor a couple of inches. They don't have to, right? One knee could be down, both knees could be down. That'd be fine. And straightening the legs, coming back into downward facing dog. Look forward between your thumbs, step, walk, or hop forward, top of the mat. Inhale to lift up into half forward fold. So give yourself a long spine. Back of your neck is long, your chin is slightly tucked. Pull your face back. This time put your hands in the fronts of your shins. Press your shins into your hands and your hands into your shins, and notice the length of your arms. Wiggle your shoulders onto your upper back. Breathe and breathe. Then hinge forward, bend your knees a lot, let your arms hang, let your head hang. Put your hands on the tops of your knees and use your arms. Push yourself back up to stand. Get used to standing up. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Bring your hands together in front of your chest. Pause for a moment. And we'll pick up the left heel, turn the left knee out to the side, and float your left foot off the floor. You can bring the sole of your left foot on the inside of your right lower leg. You could bring the sole of your left foot to the inside of your thigh. Hands together. Breathe and breathe. Breathe. Nice work. Now cross your left leg over your right leg. Put your toes down and bend both knees and sink in. Inhale to stand tall. Bring your left knee forward so your thigh is parallel to the floor. And step your left leg back behind you, coming into warrior one, bending into the front knee, sweeping the arms overhead. Exhale, straightening both legs, hinging forward at your hips, reaching your arms back behind you. Inhaling, bending into the front knee, lifting the torso, sweeping the arms overhead. Exhaling, straightening both legs, hinging forward. This time, maybe you come forward a little bit more. Your arms might come up towards the ceiling. Inhaling into warrior one last time, sweeping arms overhead. And now let's find the twist. Hands together in front of the chest. You can either keep a straight spine and twist, look behind you, or your left elbow could come forward towards your right knee. You can look behind you. Notice how you could bend and straighten one or both knees. how that changes and affects your posture. Pressing down into your front foot, lifting your torso with strength, reaching arms overhead. Exhaling, hands down. Step yourself back to plank. Count 3 full breaths, inhale and exhale. And ease your way back into downward facing dog. Hands and feet on the floor, head rolls around. Remember, you can always rest if you feel like resting. Looking forward between your thumbs, step, walk, or hop forward. Top of the mat, inhale to half lift. Place your hands on the fronts of your legs and push your thighs back, and then slide your hands down toward your shins. Let your shins come into your hands and your hands press into your shins. And use that connection to learn more about your side bodies, learn more about your breath. Pay attention to each one of your fingertips. Pay attention to each one of your toes. And bend your knees. Take your hands to the tops of your knees and push yourself all the way back up to stand. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Put your hands together in front of your chest. Shift your weight onto your left foot. Right heel comes up, right knee turns out. And this time, your toes could stay down. Your right foot could come on the inside of your left lower leg. You could put your foot on the inside of your left thigh. And we'll pause here for a little bit. Breathe. In tree pose. Notice if your eyes are bouncing around a little bit, give them one thing to look at. Then take your floating leg, cross it over, your toes come down and sink down. Squish your legs towards each other, press your hands together and sink in. Inhale to stand tall. Your floating leg comes forward. And step it all the way back behind you, coming into warrior one lunge, bending into your front knee, sweeping your arms overhead. Exhale to straighten both legs, tilt forward, and reach your arms straight back behind you, in line with your spine. Bending into your front knee, sweeping arms overhead, lifting your torso, lifting your gaze in between your hands. Exhaling into pyramid. This time your torso might come forward a little bit more. It doesn't have to, but it might. Your arms might sweep up towards the ceiling. Inhaling, bending into the front knee, lifting your torso. And then here's our twist. Hands together in front of the chest. You can readjust your feet just as you like. You can either keep a straight spine and turn and look behind you, or you can take opposite elbow to knee and look. As you do this, you might notice, this is, at least for me, a balance challenge. You're breathing, try to move your thighs kind of towards each other, even though they're in this position. Engage your inner thighs, engage your toes, breathe, notice things. Pressing down into your front foot, lift your torso, strength of your core. Sweep your arms overhead, exhale, hands down, stepping back to plank. Hold your plank, dome your upper back. And bend your knees a little bit. Let your knees float above the mat. And straighten your legs. Hips move up and back into downward facing dog. Pedal out your feet. Move your head. Spread your fingers wide. Take your right leg back. Curl your right knee underneath you. Right knee curled under plank. Right leg stretches back. Three-legged dog. Curl your right knee underneath you. Step your right foot forward, back heel down. Lift up into warrior two. Let's find our extended side angle once again. Tilt your torso forward. Reach your hands up and overhead. Hold here, couple of breaths. Remember, you can always take your bottom arm down and brace against your front leg. You could also take your top arm and wrap it around behind you. You have options. Breathe. Inhale to lift into warrior two. And now let's reverse. Your back arm wraps around behind you. Your top arm curls overhead. Inhale to lift. Reach your right arm forward. Let's try this. Walk your back foot forward and forward and forward and come into half moon pose. Your back leg extends. Your front arm reaches. Try slightly tucking your tailbone. Bending into your standing leg, stepping back into warrior two. Exhaling, hands down. Stepping back into plank. Knees bend. Your knees approach the floor. Hold there. And then lift up and back into downward facing dog. Roll your head around. Pedal your feet. Breathe. And breathe. And breathe. Left leg stretches back. Three-legged dog. One knee curled under plank. Curl in. Pull in. Hold. Your knee could be down here, right? Doesn't have to be floating. Stretch back. Three-legged dog. Curl your left knee underneath you. Step your left foot forward. Back heel comes down. Lift yourself up into warrior two. Let's find extended side angle. Tilt forward, and you've got all kinds of options. Your arms could be down. Left arm could be on the inside of the left knee. Right arm could be wrapped around. Hands could be by the shoulders or reaching overhead. Or one arm could be reaching overhead and the bottom arm could be down. So keep lengthening your side bodies. Find this spot where it feels like both work and also you can hold it for a while. Keep breathing, keep stretching, keep finding angles, triangles, muscles, breath. We'll inhale to lift up and wrap your right arm around behind your body. Your left arm stretches up and back into reverse. Pull the mat apart a little bit with your feet. Lengthen your side bodies. Breathe more deeply. We'll inhale to lift and reach forward. So this is variation one here. So stay right here. Variation two would be to lift up a little. And variation three would be to come into a little bit longer line from your left fingertips through your left foot. What's your right foot? Your left foot too. Both of your legs are straightening. Nice work. Back foot comes down. Cartwheel, hands down. Stepping back into your plank. Knees come down, cross your legs underneath you. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Wiggle out your knees. Plant your heels down, pop your knees up, wrap your arms behind your legs, and bring your torso toward your thighs. You can let your chin tuck if you like. Inhale to lift your torso. Keep your hands behind your knees, lean back, and stretch through your spine, tailbone through the crown of your head. Start to walk your heels back a little and try floating your feet off the floor. Now take your right toes down and your left leg long. And take your hands to your extended leg and see if you can lengthen your spine a little more. Don't worry about your leg straightening, but lengthen your spine. Pull your face back a little. Let your floating leg come down. Plant your hands back behind you. Let's find our reverse plank. Lift your chest. You're already in it. You don't have to do anything more than that. If you wanted to, you could lean back and lift your hips in line with the rest of your body. Hips, shoulders, head, extended legs, heel. Hips come down, plant your heels, wrap your arms underneath your legs, bring your torso toward your thighs. Lift up and hold the backs of your legs, lean back until your arms are straight. Pull your face back a little, bring your head in line. Start to walk your toes back. Keep your left toes down and put your right leg into the air, and you can hold on with both hands. And now don't worry about the length of your floating leg, but the length of your spine. Sit up taller, breathe more. And come all the way down. Your extended leg comes down to the mat. Stretch your arms back behind you. Roll your palms down. Lift your rib cage. You can bring your face forward, plant down, and lift into reverse plank. Breathe and breathe and breathe. Hips come down. Straighten your legs out in front of you and hinge forward into forward fold. Any amount. So your forward fold might look like sitting straight. Your forward fold might look like hinging forward a little more. You might touch anywhere along the tops of your legs. Just breathe and breathe. Give yourself time. We'll inhale to sit tall, roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Cross your legs underneath you. Let's come into one more. Downward facing dog. Tuck your toes under. Stretch your legs. Lengthen your spine. Walk, hop, or step forward towards the top of the mat. Place your hands on the fronts of your legs. Bend your knees and lift yourself to stand. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Put your hands together in front of your chest and sink back into chair pose. So when you sink into chair pose, you move the weight into your heels, move your hips back, and keep your spine long. So I'm going to face forward here. Sit back, breathe, pull up a little bit on the insides of your arches, engage your inner legs. Try shifting the weight onto the balls of your feet and lifting your heels and balancing. Breathe there. Plant your heels down, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, part your arms, hinge forward, and hang forward in your forward fold. Roll your head around. Make your way into resting pose. You can let your shins come down. You can let your hips come down. You can curl in. Not everybody likes to rest like that, leaning forward. You don't have to rest like that. You could rest sitting up. You could rest sitting on your sit bones with your legs in front of you. Maybe you're still in child's pose with your torso over your legs. And we'll all meet in seated. Sit bones on the floor, your legs in front of you. Give yourself space, front and behind, on your mat. Hold on to the backs of your legs and start to roll yourself back onto your back and come all the way down onto your back. Bring your knees into your chest and draw circles with your knees. And put your feet down onto the mat. Put your hands on the top of your stomach. Walk your feet out a little bit and rock your knees left and right. At the beginning of class, we were paying attention to breath and how your body felt, maybe any things that you were noticing about your current thoughts or anything that you were feeling in your body. So now I'll invite you to do that again. Notice your breath. Notice how your breath feels. Notice parts of your body, your shoulders, your hips. You can start to roll your head left and right. And scoot your hips over towards the right side of the mat. Take your left leg long. Bring your right knee in toward your chest, and then roll your right knee over towards the left side of the mat. You can do lots of things here. You can prop yourself up onto your elbow. Your knee might come all the way to the mat. Your top arm might reach back behind you. You can move your head different directions. So keep wiggling and moving around until you find the most stretchy spot that gives you the most ease, as much ease as possible. Breathe. Slowly start to roll yourself back onto your back, both knees into the chest. Draw circles with your knees. Now straighten your right leg long along the mat and scoot your hips over to the left. Your left knee comes across your body over to the right. And it doesn't have to look the same as it did on the other side. So you can change. You can do something a little differently. Keep noticing your breath. Keep noticing your position of your body. Keep slowing down. Rolling back onto your back. You can plant your feet down, put your hands on the top of your stomach, press your low back down into the mat, and rock your head from left to right. And bring yourself into your favorite resting position. That might be on your back with your arms long and your legs long. That's kind of a classic resting position, but yours doesn't have to look like that. You could lay any way you want to, arrange your legs any way you want to. And we'll take a few minutes here at the end of class to rest, to breathe. Anytime you want to shift or change your position, go right ahead. Your eyes can be open or closed, totally up to you. Every inhale, you're bringing in oxygen, and every exhale, you're releasing stuff that you don't need anymore. Keep making space for your breath and keep giving yourself permission to give yourself a little more comfort in your body position and how you're taking care of yourself. And start to deepen your breath. Of course, you're welcome to stay in resting position as long as you want to, as long as you have. If you're ready, you can start to wiggle your fingers. You can wiggle your toes. Move your shoulders around. Wiggle through your spine. You can move your face around. You could swallow or yawn. You can stretch yourself out in waking up movements. Gradually, whatever position you're in, if you're not already sitting up, you can make your way back up to seated. You can rub your hands together, re-enlivening, reawakening, becoming fully present. Noticing your senses, noticing your surroundings. And let your thumbs approach your sternum, elbows tucked in at your sides. Take a big soft inhale breath through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Acknowledging the time that you take for your practice, the time that you take to breathe, time that you take to work, the time that you take to slow down. Namaste. Thanks for coming to class with me today. I appreciate it so much. We appreciate it so much. If you have any questions, if you need anything, just let us know. And you can visit us at comebackyoga.org on our website. You can view all of the many classes we have to offer here with all of our amazing, amazing teachers. You can take classes with lots of different teachers and all on our YouTube channel. And I hope you do take advantage of that and look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.